All right, good evening, COCSD families. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our Parent University. This evening, we are going to tackle Google Classroom and Edgenuity, both at the K-5 level and at the 6-8 level. And then we're also going to look at our new parent portal for reporting attendance and grades. The name of the new portal is Tyler Sis. This meeting is being recorded this evening. Feel free if you'd like to turn off your video. You won't need that for this evening, and it will help save bandwidth if we show any videos. If you have any questions this evening, please go ahead and put those into the chat box. Also, make sure that you are on mute this evening as we go. Any questions that you have, please go ahead and put those in the chat box. And if there's anything that we don't answer along the way, we will take questions at the very end and we will answer some of those questions. So again, good evening. My name is Jamie Woodward and I support curriculum for Cottonwood Oak Creek School District. And again, I want to thank you for being here, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started. And again, if you have any questions, please go ahead and enter those into our chat box. All right, so I know that families are probably in lots of different places, and so I'm going to try and tackle just an overview of everything, and I'm going to start right from the beginning. So if I am at the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District website, cocsd.us, I'm going to begin right here on the Return to Learn. Any of the resources that I talk about this evening will be available in the Parent Resources section. So again, I'm at the Return to Learn 2020 right in the center. And then we have some Edgenuity parent resources. At the K-5 level, it's often referred to as Pathblazer. And then at our for us, it's 6-8, but Edgenuity actually runs 6-12. At our 6-8 level, it's actually called courseware. And then we have some information for technology, our phone number for our tech help, all of those good things. So you can come right back to this resource if you have any questions about getting started. If you've not yet been into Google Classroom, let me move right over. And I would go ahead and I would come to, actually, let me show you from right here. I would begin with schools, and then I would select the school where my child attends. So Dr. Daniel Bright. Once I select that school, I would go ahead and I would select staff. And then I would scroll down and I would find the teacher that my student is in class with. So if tonight I'm going to use Miss Lichtis, who is a second grade teacher at Dr. Daniel Bright. So if I were going to enter her Google Classroom, I would select, and then I would enter her classroom. You will be prompted to enter the code, or the child would need to be logged in with their My School Apps password. If for some reason you don't have that information, please reach out to your school and the office will be able to assist you with that, and they will make sure that you're in touch with your child's teacher if for some reason you have not been in touch already. And so if I were to go into Miss Lichtis's second grade classroom, her Google Classroom would pop up for me. So I actually don't have her classroom this evening. I have another sample classroom. And once you log into the sample classroom, whether it's the student or the family that's logging in, the first thing you see when you come into the classroom is the stream. So that's underlined right here. And teachers will have different backgrounds, but this is kind of just like a news feed. Some of our teachers will turn this off and they'll give a little reminder to say, welcome, please be sure to click on the classwork tab that's right up here. So this just kind of gives some announcements, but the bulk of where you want to spend your time is going to be in the classwork tab. Now this evening, I'm going to begin with K-5, and then I'll move into the 6-8 arena. But if you have a child that is in a K-5 classroom, and you come into their Google Classroom and you're helping them to navigate it, these are some of the things that you might see. Now, across the district, our teachers are going to have a little bit of variety in their Google Classrooms, but there should be some key things that you should see across all of the classrooms in the district. So under the classwork, you will find the daily schedule, lesson plans, and Zoom information. You'll also find a daily attendance form. This must be completed each day. And I will say that there is some flexibility with this. If a child is not able to get on and fill out this attendance form, the one that I have for the demo classroom is a fake one. Teachers will be calling in the afternoon. They'll be checking in with the family. If a family forgets to use this attendance form, the student won't be marked absent. Teachers can also check Zoom. They can check through the Edgenuity platform to see if a student is logging on. But this helps teachers just to go ahead and track the attendance. It also gives a nice routine to the students and families if they go ahead and log in each day to the Google Classroom and take care of this attendance first thing in the morning. So daily attendance is right here. And then you will typically see Ingenuity Ela, Edgenuity Math, Science, Social Studies, Exploratories, PE, Music, Art. And then you may see some things that students can do offline, because while the students are participating in a 5-hour day for their remote learning, not all of it is going to take place online. And that's really because research tells us that students should not be in front of a computer at our age ranges for 5 hours a day. So typically we encourage our teachers to plan for online activities in kindergarten, 1 to 2 hours. That will include Zoom time with teachers, recorded lessons, and then some Edgenuity time. In grades 1st through 4th, the teachers would be looking at 2 to 3 hours. This is really also dependent on the family needs as well. And then in grades 6 through 8, 3 to 4 hours online. So if there's a total of 5 hours, there may be some activities within the Google Classroom that the students could participate in at home offline. So you've got independent reading, daily journal, writing, handwriting, and there may be some other activities as well. So this kind of gives you the overview of what you might find in the Google Classroom. If I were to click on the daily schedule, you'll see that there's a sample daily schedule in here. We always remind families that this is a suggested schedule. We understand that there are families that are working and may not be able to participate in the daily schedule with the times that are outlined. But some families also are looking for something that's a more traditional schedule to help keep their student on track throughout the day. So for this schedule, 8:30, daily writing journal, 9 o'clock, Zoom morning meeting. I also want to remind you that Zoom meetings are optional for students and families to participate in. We strongly encourage that students attend the Zoom meetings, but we also understand for families that you may have multiple students in your household that are trying to get on Zooms. You're dealing with working and schedules. And so the Zoom meetings are really a time for optional support. If there's instructional information that needs to get to the students, it will either be posted in Google Classroom in lesson plans or in an announcement, or it will also be in a recorded video. So the Zoom meetings are optional. We strongly encourage that students get on and participate in those, but if they're not able to participate, we understand. So it takes you through, again, Google Classroom check-in. So again, just a reminder to get on, take care of that attendance. Then we see at 10:30, Edgenuity Ela. And so that shows 45 minutes. Now, my recommendation to families, especially families with younger students, I really would gauge the time that my students, children are spending on the computer based on what their needs are. Some children can handle 45 minutes working. Some students might need 20 minutes and then get up and take a 5-minute break and come back to it. They might need to come back to it later in the day. So these are all recommended times. Exploratory, again, there will be PE, music, art, other types of activities that will be built into the Google Classroom that students can participate in. Sometimes these might be live activities. Sometimes these might be optional offline activities. some of our teachers are also doing a social hour, lunch, recess type Zoom where a teacher is monitoring and students can come on during the lunch hour. And then we go into an offline activity, 12:30 independent reading, and then Edgenuity math, 45 minutes. Again, that can be broken up throughout the day. And again, this is all dependent on the grade level and the number of minutes that the teacher may be requiring or asking the students to complete in Edgenuity. We have a brain break, recess, handwriting, writing, science, social studies. So again, this is what it looks like. And if I were to click on the Ingenuity Ela, week of 8/17, then I'll find some instructions from the teacher. So initially, when we began Edgenuity with our students and with our teachers and our families, the first thing that we were doing were screeners and diagnostics. Screeners came in K-5, diagnostics came in at 1st through 5th grade. And those diagnostics and screeners helped to place our students on an individual learning path. And that's one portion of Edgenuity. So the individual learning path allows the child to work at their just right level. Sometimes this might be at an accelerated level, which is above grade level, but sometimes a child might be missing some of the skills, especially due to the closure in 4th quarter. They may need to go back and still work on the previous grade level skills. And that diagnostic gives us that information so that the child can work at their just right level for a portion of the day. In addition to that, Edgenuity also has standards-based lessons. And so for the first 2 weeks, our teachers focused with families on getting students through their screener and diagnostic and started on their individual learning path. But now we're starting to assign assignments. So if you haven't seen assignments come into Google Classroom or into the Edgenuity, in the next week, your teacher will be talking to the students and posting in Google Classroom about how to access those assignments that are at the student's grade level. And I'll walk you through that this evening as well. So right here in this one, it says go to Edgenuity and complete ELA lessons 1 through 5. Due Friday. And we're always encouraging our teachers also to keep that in mind, that we want to create flexibility for our families if they're going to put multiple lessons in, realizing that families may need to do this in the evenings. Some families may even need to work over the weekends to help support their student. And so my big takeaway is always going to be communication. If you have a challenge within your family, if you have a working situation, go ahead and communicate with that teacher. And the teacher will be flexible and they will work with you on it. If you have a child that is struggling with Edgenuity, they're frustrated, they don't necessarily want to be on the computer, talk to the teacher about that. Ask the teacher if they can set up a Zoom session and walk the child through some steps. We have the most incredible, loving teachers in this district, and they want to support our students the best way that they possibly can during these building closures. And my big thing is just to communicate with those teachers, let them know what's going on. If you as a parent are struggling with Edgenuity, reach out to that classroom teacher. If the classroom teacher is not able to resolve that issue, they're going to reach out to one of the specialists on their campus. If that specialist is struggling, they'll reach out to me. And I also have an Edgenuity parent support phone number that I will type into the chat box before we go this evening as well. And you can directly contact Edgenuity if you're having any technical issues as well. So again, big takeaway for this evening is communication. We are here to help. We are here to serve. Just let us know what you need, what your family needs, and we will be here for you. So under Edgenuity Ela for the week of 8/17, this teacher is going to ask that the student complete lessons 1 through 5. And then anytime that the student has outside of that, they can work on their individual learning path. So again, I'll show you what that looks like. I'll walk you through it. And then Edgenuity Math, if I click, it opens it up, and I can actually click right here on the purple Edgenuity box, and it will take me directly to the sign-in for Edgenuity. And then same thing, as I go through, I can just click and expand, and I can see what is there and available for the students to work on that week. So stream, announcements that you might see. classwork, this is where you're going to check the schedule, the lesson plans, the Zoom information, attendance, all of those things are going to happen. A couple other just little quick tips that I will show you with Google Classroom, and this is pulled up as my own teacher account, so it looks a little bit different. But if I come on down to do, this is sometimes helpful for me as a parent if I'm sitting with my student and helping to support them. I can see the activities that have been assigned this week. I can also check missing assignments. And I can check assignments that are done. So sometimes this just helps me to navigate the world of Google Classroom and help to keep my child on track. And then if I come right back, I can go back to classes. Some of our students, depending on the grade level, may have multiple classes in their Google Classroom, but I was right here in the sample K-5 classroom. And then I'm right back to classwork. So now that I have taken attendance, if I've logged in for the day and I've checked my lesson plans, and I know that it's time to go to Edgenuity Ela, well, then I can click this link and it will take me directly to Compass Learning. And then I can log right in. All of our students will log in with their first name, period, last name, at myschoolapps.us. And then their password is going to be their first initial, last initial, and then they will enter their 6-digit student ID number. Also in the K-5, all students will need to enter the code for the school, COTOC. And then the student will select login. I'm going to take you in to this sample classroom, but first I'd like to show you a quick little video from Edgenuity that walks you through it. This link will be available if you'd like to come back and watch again. And I'm going to play this video.
Edgenuity.com or thelearningodyssey.com. First, ensure that your student has the correct username and password. Also, each school has its own unique code. Make sure to type the code correctly in the third line titled school. Once your student is logged in, he or she will see Pathblazer reading and math program tiles in which they can locate their assignments. The student selects either math or reading as directed by their teacher. When they click the program tile, a series of assignment folders will display. They can choose an assignment to work on or go to a specific folder designated by their teacher. To begin working on an assignment, students simply click the folder to open it. Once they've opened that assignment folder, they will have to work on each activity sequentially, starting with the instruction and finishing with the assessment or check for understanding. Students who do not master the assessment for the first time may be sent back to repeat the instruction and reassess. Students will see an asterisk or white snowflake in the upper right-hand corner of an assignment folder and activity, which tells them where to begin work. They will see a check mark on the parts of the assignment they've completed. Be aware that students do have the ability to select different assignment folders from reading or math. Their teacher may want them working in specific folders or on specific assignments, so you may need to step in to redirect. An easy way to check your students' progress and help hold them accountable for their work is by checking the portfolio in the upper left-hand side of the homepage. The portfolio shows you the work that has been started and completed that day, that week, or within that month, and the last time your student logged in. As you look at the work your student has done, you will see scores for some activities and quizzes. Some of these quizzes will have a blue score, and these are hyperlinks so you can dig deeper into your child's understanding of the content. If you click on the hyperlink, you can view the quiz and see the answers your child selected. A solid blue page icon in the last column indicates that the student completed the activity. An icon that it is only half blue means that the student has begun work on the activity or opened the activity, but has not yet completed it. Don't be worried if you don't see a score for all of the activities, because many of them are focused on just student learning. Remember, there are instruction and practice type activities that are not graded. If the activities are practice or instructional, you will see an NA for the score. In addition to checking recent work, parents can run reports from the portfolio. The report criteria can be filtered for the desired subject, activity type, and date range. At the end of the session, the student will need to properly sign out by clicking on the logout button on the top right-hand side of the student dashboard. The content your student is learning and the way they are learning it may be completely new to you, but your presence in their learning process is what will truly make a difference. Encourage your students to be accountable for their actions in the program. Check the portfolio with them often. Make sure they are working in appropriate folders and completing activities. Remind them to sign out correctly, take pride in their work, demonstrate academic integrity, and contact their teachers when they need assistance. Most importantly, they should always try their best. As your partner in education.
All right, so let's take a look at a sample account. And all right, Kathy, will you let me know if for some reason this is not sharing? I think it should be, but just let me know. You can pop on and tell me if you don't see this. But if I'm logged in as my student, again, I see the name at the top. And then as they reviewed in the video, I have the logout button right up to the right corner. And when you have your student complete their Edgenuity every day, it is important that they log out because it stops any of that idle time that might show up in their report. It also ensures that they are ending and saving their work. So if for some reason they don't hit log out, it's okay, we can work through it, but it is important that you remind your child that every time they're leaving the portal that they do go ahead and select log out. If for some reason you have not been into the portal yet, the very first time you come into the portal, you're going to see the short assessment. So that's the initial screener. Students in kindergarten through 5th grade all begin with that initial screener, and then students in 1st through 5th grade, after they've completed that screener, they will go into a larger diagnostic. I know that I have heard some stories across the district of students becoming frustrated with the diagnostic. Maybe it's too difficult, it's too long. I always encourage you as a parent to reach out to that teacher, that homeroom teacher that you have at your site, and let them know, because they will help walk you through it, or they will find someone to help Zoom and walk your child through that. We want it to be a positive experience, not frustrational. And so if you need any support, again, anytime, please reach out to that classroom teacher. We are here to support. So if I come back into the reading side of things, I'm going to show you just a couple quick things. You see all of these diagnostics: diagnostic A, pre-test, post-test, diagnostic B, pre-test, post-test, and then C. And then I also see a little tab down here, a little folder for assignments. When we began Edgenuity, all of the diagnostic assessments loaded. And in a perfect world, we would ask our students to begin with diagnostic A and work through all of that and then move on to the post-test. Unfortunately, these folders are not locked, and so students can go in and out of them before they're ready and they've completed their learning path for diagnostic A. So some of our teachers are choosing to remove diagnostic B and C so that students only see the A. Diagnostic A, if I click on this, I can see that I have a check mark under the pretest. So that means it's no longer highlighted white. I've already completed that test. Now, the diagnostic A pretest, it's actually going to be the learning experience. If I click this, and it has, we call it a little snowflake, but if I click this, it takes me into my learning path. And again, the learning path is that individualized learning path that's just right for the student. It might be above grade level, or it might be below grade level, or it might be right on grade level. You can see within this learning path, some of the boxes are grayed out. That means that when I took my diagnostic assessment, I showed that I didn't need extra support or practice with these specific skills, and I only needed the skills that are in that darker purple. This is sequential, so I will start with this first activity and then I'll continue to move on. So if I click this first one, ask and answer questions, I want to point out just a couple things right here. I see the snowflake. I know that I need to start here. But if you see in the third folder, the 2 arrows, that means that this is coming to a crossroad. And it says quiz right here. In order for me to move on to the next folder, I need to receive a 70% or higher on my quiz. If I score lower than a 70% on this quiz, I'm going to go back into the instructional practice and I'm going to go through the practice video, the practice support, the practice assignment again. Then I'll come back to the quiz and I'll take it again. If you have any difficulty at home in this section, a child is feeling frustrated, again, please reach out to the teacher. They can set up a Zoom, they can talk to the child and walk them through it. We can get on and take a look at what the child is seeing. But I just wanted you to know what that crossroads, the 2 little arrows, this means it's a quiz, and in order for me to move on, I need a score of a 70% or higher. If I'm done working for the day, if I want to come back in, let's go back to, I can go home, I can go back into language arts. Again, anytime I want to access my learning path, I need to go into the diagnostic that I was last testing on. So that was A for us for right now. But then I told you that teachers are also assigning grade level assignments beginning this next week. And so you're going to see a folder. The teacher probably will label it with the week. You'll click on that and you'll see the assignments for that week. It most likely will be sequential again. The student would have all week to work on these assignments. And we recommend that students start with the assignments. Now that we're in and assigning assignments, students should begin working on their assignments. And then if they have extra time during the day, they can work on their learning path through the diagnostic piece. So again, the folders are labeled by the Arizona State Standards. Students can go in and they can see what they'll be doing within their assignments for that week. So I'm going to log, actually I'm going to close that one back down. And now I'm going to take you into.
Jamie, we have a question that would fit right here.
Oh, perfect.
So the student can do more than just a white rimmed box. I thought that the white rim box was the only assignment.
Oops, let me come right back in. So diagnostic. Okay. So the white rimmed box is going to be their starting point, and you're going to look for that snowflake asterisk. If I'm understanding the question correctly, they'll complete this first, and then the next box, once they've completed this first activity, ask and answer questions. Then the next box, describe the overall, it's probably structure of the story. That box will then become outlined in white, and it will have the snowflake right there. If that's not exactly what your question was, if you'll just type in a little follow-up question and I will answer that.
And then there was one more. Will we know if they are above or below grade level?
So if you come right into that portfolio for their learning path, and again, I want to remind everyone that students will get, even if they are working below grade level on their learning path, they still will be assigned grade level material. And what's sometimes nice about that is it gives students that, because it's their just right level, it's not going to feel frustrational for students. So I know sometimes I, as a parent, worry about my own child that, oh gosh, are they at grade level? And you know, that stresses me out a little bit. I don't want them to be below grade level, but really more than anything, I want them to get the skills that they need to be successful. So if my child is below grade level, that's okay. We're going to work through that, and that individual learning path is going to help them, and then they're still going to get access to grade level assignments. So the way that you can check some of those things, if you come in under recent work, assignments, reports, and you run that report, it's going to give you the level, and you're going to be looking for the level like ELA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. those levels correspond with grade levels. So if you see that your child is working on Diagnostic A, ELA 2, and they are a first grader, that will give you an indication that they are working above level. And I also say too, take it with a grain of salt, because when kids are participating in these standardized type diagnostic assessments, it's not always a full comprehensive picture of your child. It doesn't mean that just because this diagnostic said that they were below grade level, that there are huge concerns. Once we have our students back in person, we'll do some additional testing person to person, and we'll really have a better picture of where your child is at. All right.
The follow-up question is, explain again about the assignments versus pathways.
Okay, sure thing. Whoops, sorry, let me come right back out. Okay, so if I were to come into reading, the diagnostic, again, is going to be that learning path. And anytime you see the learning path, you know that that is the just right individual learning path. And the individual learning path, we focused on that for the first 2 weeks while we were getting everyone into the system. But at this point, let me come back into language arts. So again, I selected Diagnostic A. That was my learning path. At this point, our teachers are going to begin assigning grade level assignments next week that the students can work through throughout the week. And this, for us, is going to be the priority. The teacher is going to say, we'd like you to work on this first. If you complete your assignments, then you can come back in and you can work on that individual learning path. The assignments will be checked and graded. The learning path is going to be participation. So if your child is running out of time, they don't have to go into the learning path. But again, if you have individual questions or specific concerns about that, I would communicate with your teacher and just let them talk you through it and ask questions and just work through a plan together on what's best for your child. All right. Now I'm going to take you in to Google Classroom for a middle school student. So depending on the structure of your child's school, for middle school, the classroom might look a little bit different. I'm using Mrs. Combs' 8th grade math from CCS. At CCS, they have 6 teachers that teach 7th and 8th grade. And so the students will actually see Google Classroom for each of their content areas. If your child is in 6th grade at MVP, they are on a different Edgenuity platform, but they're with a self-contained teacher. So their Google Classroom is going to look more like a K-5 classroom because they're going to have all of the content areas within one Google Classroom. But at CCS, you're going to see a Google Classroom for math, a Google Classroom for ELA, a Google Classroom for science, one for social studies. But again, check with the school and the homeroom teacher. It may look a little bit different. I think at some of the sites, all of the teachers are working under one Google Classroom. So just check and make sure. So if I were to come into Mrs. Combs' 8th grade math Google Classroom, I'm going to see, let me just close this. Let's see, click here. There we go. Okay, so if I again begin with the stream, I've got a few announcements here, and then I go to the classwork tab. And once I'm in that classwork tab, I look at the topics coming down the left side of the screen, and I can see there are resources, getting to know you. Here's attendance. If I click it, it takes me right to it. Under attendance, I can see the homeroom schedule, Zoom meetings, and then I see my attendance form that I need to check out. And then I see the assignments for week 2. And again, if I click all topics, then I can see everything within that Google Classroom. And then I can also click right over here on the 3 lines off to the left. I can go to the to do. and I can see what has been assigned in this class. If you have multiple, if your child's in multiple classes in middle school, you can scroll between the different classes or see all of them at one time. So I can do all of those things, and then I can select come back to classes. So I'm going to come right back to Mrs. Combs' class, and I can see that Mrs. Combs has assigned next week in math. She is assigned 3 separate pieces. She has a weekly math challenge. This one looks like it's offline activity. It's a number sense type activity, or it's off Edgenuity. It might actually be in Google Classroom still. And then she has Edgenuity, remember we talked about in K5, there are 2 different paths. There's that individual learning path, and then there's also the standards-based. So this is the standards-based course, Arizona Mathematics 8. She's given the directions of how the students will log in, and then they are to complete the lesson interpreting graphs. When you have completed the quiz, at the end, you are done.
Jamie?
And then, yep.
So the question is about if the assignments are in Google Classroom or if they're in Ingenuity. Technically, they're both, because here they're, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So technically they are both. And I would communicate with the teacher on that, because Edgenuity is going to be that's where the teachers can really check and see that the student has completed the work. But a lot of students, they want to say, view the assignment. And then when they have finished it in Edgenuity, they may want to just mark it as done. But I know that students, I have a high schooler who still forgets to do those things sometimes. So yes, the priority is that they're doing the work in Edgenuity. The classroom teacher can check Edgenuity, but for the student's own well-being, they may say, I want to mark it off. I want to check it as done. So I completed lesson in interpreting graphs. I'm going to mark it as done. If the student forgets to do that, the teacher is still going to see that the student completed it in Edgenuity. But if the student has another activity in Google Classroom that is not on Edgenuity, like the weekly math challenge, they will go ahead and they'll complete that math challenge right here. I would click this. It would open up a Google Doc, just like a Microsoft Word document. I would type in my answer, and then I would turn it in right here. So that's a great question. So I'm going to come back to math. Back to my classroom. And the last piece that Mrs. Combs has assigned is Edgenuity My Path. Again, that's the individual path that the student at the student's just right level. So her directions are: log into Edgenuity using your My School apps, email, and password. Click on the mathematics or reading My Path green icon that looks like a map. Complete 1 hour today in both math and reading for a total of 2 hours of work. This is an 8th grade class, so it looks like obviously a little bit more time than you would see at the K5 level. So now if I click this, it's going to take me right into Edgenuity. The 6 through 8 portal looks different from the K5. The K5 is purple, and the classroom teacher will have that link in there.
Jenny, yep. Someone is saying they can't see your screen. I can.
Oh, okay. Let me stop share. Sure. I'll stop share for just a second and bring it back. Sometimes that happens. I hope this works now. All right. So if I come back, if I were to click on Miss Combs' 8th grade link, it would take me right to this student login for Edgenuity. And then I've got a demo student account, so it looks a little bit different than our My School Apps account, but I would have the student go ahead and type in their My School Apps, first name, period, last name at myschoolapps.us, and then first initial, last initial, and their 6-digit ID number. Then I would go ahead and say log in. Okay, the portal looks a little bit different for 6 through 8, and the learning path is a little bit easier to identify, in my opinion. You can see that at the top, we have these little purple computer screen icons, and they all have a 7. Well, I actually logged into a 7th grade account rather than Mrs. Combs' demo account. So if I were in a 7th grade classroom, this would tell me that these are my 7th grade core subjects: science, math, social studies, and language arts. So these are the things that I need to focus on for my course with my teachers. And then I still have an individual learning path. And the way that I can identify that in grades 6 through 8 is through this little map feature. And it doesn't identify the grade level, so students don't know if they're working above or below grade level. It just gives them basic, foundation, intermediate, and it runs anywhere from about 3rd, 4th grade level all the way through college level for their My Path. And so I'm going to quickly pull up the video for My Path, and I'm going to walk you through that. Not My Path, I'm sorry. I'm going to walk you through the Edgenuity 6 through 8.
At learn.edgenuity.com with a unique username and password. If your student does not know his or her username, they should contact their teacher. Once the student is logged in, they will see a tile for each course in which they are currently enrolled. If your child's school decides to give a due date, a color-coded progress bar in the middle of the tile will let the student know how they are progressing through the course and how much of the course they've completed. A green bar means they are ahead, blue means that they are on track, and red signifies that they are behind. A current grade metric might also appear in the bottom left-hand corner of the tile, depending on how your school set up the program. To begin work where they left off, the student merely needs to click on the Next Activity button. To view and access upcoming lessons, learning activities, and quizzes, students can click anywhere on the tile. Once inside, students land on the course map page. On this page, students can view due dates and estimated time for completion of activities. If the lesson they're working on has guided notes, they'll see a pencil and paper icon next to the name of the lesson. Students can access these notes by clicking right on the icon. If your student is out of quiz retakes or needs to have a test unlocked, that notation will show up on the lesson bar. The teacher will complete these tasks if necessary, but if your student finds that the teacher hasn't responded, he or she may want to reach out. One way you can check to see how they're doing is by clicking on the Course Report tab in the top right-hand corner. This report will download in their computer, and they can see how they performed on activities and assessments. They'll also be able to see how much time they took to complete tasks, when they submitted work, and future due dates. If your student completes a course, they should contact their teacher to ensure they are enrolled in their next course to continue their growth and achievement. Another way to check student work is by viewing the progress dashboard from the course map. This icon is located on the left-hand side and looks like a graph. Click to open it and view the progress overview as well as grades by category. Edgenuity uses 3 different types of grades. You might see 1, 2, or all 3 listed in the grade section. Let's look at what each of these grades mean. An overall grade is the average of all the graded work the student has completed so far in the course. It's the grade you would normally see on a report card. The actual grade is an average of all the graded work your student has completed, along with an estimation of their pace and progress. If the student has a due date for the course, then the actual grade will only be lower than the overall grade if the student is behind. The relative grade is an average of the graded work the student has completed, with zeros being assigned to any tasks the student hasn't gotten to yet. If your student doesn't know, it might be helpful for him or her to ask the teacher which grade they should be focusing on as they work. Students and parents can see how long their student has been logged in and how much time they've spent working by accessing the attendance report. Click on the student name in the top right corner and choose Profile from the drop-down menu. Navigate to the left-hand side of the screen and choose the attendance report. Once there, you can use calendar filters at the top to see when the student was logged in and how much time they spent working and how many activities were completed. The time is divided into active time and idle time. Idle time reports the amount of time the student was logged into the program but was not making forward progress in the content. A little bit of idle time is expected. Students may be reviewing work or taking lots of e-notes. Lots of idle time may mean that you may need to have a discussion with your student about staying on task. Whatever page you're on, You'll notice that the students can access the Help Center from the drop-down menu under their name. The Help Center is a great first stop for students and parents that might have questions about the program. In the Help Center, you'll find videos, student guides, and a section on frequently asked questions. There are even videos and tips and tricks for learning in an online course. Check them out, you might find them helpful. And remember, when they've completed a work session, use the same drop-down under their name to log out properly so that extra time doesn't show up as idle. The content your student is learning and the way they are learning it may be completely new to you, but your presence in their learning process is what will truly make the difference. Encourage your student to be accountable for their actions in the program. Remind them to check their progress frequently, take pride in their work, demonstrate academic integrity, contact their teachers when they need assistance, sign out properly at the end of each session, and as always, try their best. As your partner in education, Edgenuity.
All right. So, Kathy, I'm going to, unless there's some specific questions about the 6th through 8th Edgenuity, I am going to.
There was a question about idle time. I'm going to back up and find it here.
Okay.
I'm looking, hold on.
Sure. The attendance report right here. And if so, as Kathy was looking for it, just in case I'm guessing what the question may be, if I want to log in as a parent through my student's account, I can go right to profile, and then I can go to attendance report, and then I can pull up their working. I could do it for one day or multiple days, and then under the time, you'll see that there is something right here that says idle time. And so, you know, I would always have a conversation with my child about this. I tend to have a kiddo who will push the limits if he thinks that he can. And so if he thinks he can get away with turning on Edgenuity and is just planning to set his computer for 4 hours and then turn Netflix on another computer, he's going to be the kid that's going to do that once in a while. He's going to test the limits. And so as a parent or as a teacher, I can come in and I can see, okay, were they actually working? And even in the K-5 too, I can see that for a child that took a quiz and scored a 40%, I can see, were they on that quiz for 60 seconds? Or were they on that quiz for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? And so it gives me an idea of, okay, was the child rushing through it? Or also in the same respect, was the child, you know, just on here for 3 hours and they didn't complete anything? And so, again, this is not a blame type thing. It's a support. This is a way for us as parents and teachers to check in with our students and our children and find out, hey, let's investigate. What's going on? Help me understand. Are you struggling with something? Let's work through this together, because if you're going to get on and do it, let's get something out of it. So this is the way that you can run that report. Kathy, did that answer that question?
It did, but the follow-up question is, how does the system log idle time? How does it know that they're, that they're actively working or not? And I would say they're clicking things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so if they get on, and the way that it works with Edgenuity, there's a sequence that students follow. So they do a warm-up video, and then they have some guided practice, then they have some independent practice. And Kathy was exactly right. They are having to click through, they're having to do some answering. And so idle time would just be, I'm logged into the system, but I'm not clicking at all. And I can't say that, you know, that's 100% always the case. So that's why my question is for the child. It's help me understand, rather than, hey, you were logged in and you weren't doing anything. I'm just going to go in and ask, and I might do some additional check-ins with them. And I might say, hey, I expect you to finish this lesson today. It shows me the times for each of the portions, and it shows that it should take about 40 minutes to finish this one lesson. I'm going to check back with you in 60 minutes. And unless you have a question or you need some help, I should see that this lesson is finished. So it just helps it at home if you need a little bit more of that accountability, and it helps the teacher to kind of have a gauge too of what the student is doing.
Can the parents log into Edgenuity at the same time as their child to see where they're at and what they're doing if they're on a different computer?
On the 6-8 level, they can. At the K5 level, it signs the other person out. So that's a workaround that is not available at K5, but at 6-8, you don't cancel each other out if you log in. But at K5, I haven't done it actually in the student portal, but if I log in as, if I need to help a teacher and I log in as them, it logs them out. So I think that is the case with K5.
The same question we had before, how can I see what grade level our student is at for their learning path?
So at 7-8, I believe, let me go right back in. Click on it. And I go to course report. It may not tell you, we'll just pull up a report and see. I don't think that it tells within this, but if you reach out to your child's teacher, they have a key and they'll be able to tell you what intermediate reading A is. And if you want to, I can put my email in the chat too. I can give you the snapshot of what it looks like for both math and reading for 6 through 8 students. On the K5 level, though, it's built right into the report, but at 6-8, it's not built into the report. And I actually understand that because, again, if my students, so it says the grade level, but if my own child is out of grade level and they see that they're out of grade level, below grade level especially, there's going to be anxiety about it. So I think they don't put that there for students to see because at that level, those students will understand what it means. Any other questions, Kathy?
I think that's it.
Okay. Oh, and I never turned my video back on. Sorry about that. All right. So Kathy, can I turn it over to you if I stop share and you can?
I don't think you need to stop share. I think you can,
okay.
I mean, I think you need, let me see if I can just take over. You're going to have to stop share and then I can.
Okay. I did stop share now. Do I need to go back and pick you the?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to be talking about logging into Tyler Sis, which is our new student information system. We used to have Schoolmaster, and we've gone to their upgraded version, which calls Tyler Sis. And it's a whole new look for everyone. The way you get to Tyler Sis, and I thought I was on the right slide. Let me get back here. There we go. Sorry. Is you just go to your school's website. This one is DDB's, happen to be DDB's. You go to the word parent portal here along the branch at the top. And then you click on the 3 tabs. You click on the one that says parent. And when you click on the one that says parent, then you're going to want to delete the information that's in there if it comes up. You're going to want to click on the forgot your parent password. Once you do that, it's going to bring up this little box and you type in whatever your email is. And then you're going to click the continue button. It's going to say to reset your parent password, a link sent to your email. Note, check your junk mail and your spam mail. It took it some time tonight for mine to come to me. So you might give it some time. If it doesn't work, then you can contact the school office, but give it a little bit of time before you do that. Then once you've gotten the password reset button, you just go in, put your new information and your password in, and then you will go to, I lost it a minute ago. No, it's not letting me. I'm going to have to stop sharing for a second and bring my screen up to what I need it to be. There we go. Okay, share again. Okay, now what you see is your parent portal for your student. And there's a ton of information here. at this time, we don't have all of the pieces connected to it. For example, the meal service balance. Our meal service program is not connected. They have their own, and so we are looking to do that. And when we have that, meal service will actually have your balance there for you. Only you can see this. Your student actually can see their grades, their attendance, those kind of things, their assignments, but only you can see all of this information. And for you right now, the meal service wouldn't even show up because we don't have that option yet. This is, again, as you can see, little Johnny Fake. So it's not a real student, but you'll be able to see any announcements that the school sends out for that day. You'll see your students' attendance, tardy and absences. You'll see their current grades. You'll see a calendar with anything on the calendar that teachers have given assignments or those kinds of things. You can see their attendance history, student notes, any programs they're in. You can see what school they're enrolled in, who their teacher is. Down here, you can see the parent information, and you can even go in and change the parent information for yourself. If you get a new phone number, if you get a new email address, whatever might change, you can actually go in and change it. Tyler Sis also has an app, so you don't have to do it on a computer. You can do it on the app. You just look for Tyler Sis 360 and go through pretty much the same process with your email. Get yourself a password, and you can go in and you can see all of this information for your student once you've gotten started. So that's basically Tyler Sis.
Kathy, there's one question. Will Tyler Sis be compatible with multi-parent separated households?
Yes. You have the right to say which parents are allowed to go in there. That's done through your system and through your school office. And then Johnny doesn't have any siblings, but if he did, I would click up here at this top spot and his siblings would come down, and I would be able to click on, and I would be able to choose whichever sibling that I would want to look at. So.
And then there was just one follow-up, just double checking that yes, Tyler Sis does have an app. Is there somewhere that families, will they just go ahead and?
They just go to the Google Play Store or to Apple apps, and it's called Tyler SIS 360.
Awesome. All right. It doesn't look right now. Thank you, Kathy, for showing that overview. Are there any other questions about Tyler Sis? Any other questions about Google Classroom, Edgenuity, or any other questions about technology in general that we can answer before we sign off for the evening? And also, I want to remind you that this is recorded. It will be posted so that you can go back and view. And then I'll share my screen one last time. And there are additional resources, again, for Edgenuity under the Return to Learn 2020 on the COCSD website. Path Blazers, the K-5 courseware is the 6-8, and then we have the tech phone number and some additional information as well for families.
Jimmy, we might want to add the 8888 number right there too.
Yes, we will add the 88. Yes.
And also Tyler Sis, someone asked about what grades are Tyler Sis for. That is like their report card grades. It'll be their assignment grades. We'll go into there, and then of course that will eventually generate into a report card grade.
Yeah.
We also have, I have a second grader that got logged out of her Edgenuity and can't get back. If she has a message, a restricted message, then all you need to do is open another tab, close the restricted tab, and then put in her information and log her in again, and it should work. If not, shut down the entire computer, then bring it back up and try that same process again. If that doesn't fix it, then you can call that tech help number that she's got up there right now, or click on the Tech Help Center button. That's a form you can fill out, and you'll get some assistance there.
And also you can always contact the teacher as well, but that Help Tech Center, that will be the district office. And then if we're having some continual issues with Chromebooks or anything like that, you can bring it in and we'll work through it and either make sure it's reset or get you a different Chromebook if it's something like that. But we'll try it, and before we get something back to you, we'll make sure it's working.
Someone commented that to show people how to change your device name when you join a Zoom meeting. actually can't really show that because when it's recording, it takes that participant side out. But if the participant just clicks on those 3 dots beside their name, they can change the name to their student's name so that the teacher can then see the student.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can show that really quickly too on the, did you just say that, Kathy? I was reading the question about the Zoom.
Yes. Yeah, can't show that part. So why does my first grader have to log into Edgenuity every single time she gets to the screen?
I know. So I'll take that one. Edgenuity does not sync with, there's something called Google Classroom Single Sign-On, and Edgenuity is not a partner with that yet. They do have another system through Clever that requires an outside hosting. It is something we're looking into. There is a cost with it. Our first priority was getting devices out to students and families. And so I apologize for that. I get that's frustrational to have to do that. And I wish that I had a better answer for you right now. But the way that their system is set up, unless we do that outside hosting, that will take some time. And we also were going through our update of our new system, Tyler Sis, that was a challenge in being able to make that happen. And so we hope in the future that it will be available. And then I see a question about kindergartner with negative number equations. I would reach out to the classroom teacher. Unless it's a glitch in the system, it could mean that the kindergartner tested so high on their placement or their diagnostic that they possibly are at a frustrational level. They're at a level that is far above their grade level, and the specialist on that campus may need to work with the teacher to reset the placement screener or reset the student's placement. So if you find that your child is frustrated by their learning path, I would immediately reach out to the teacher because it should be their just right level according to their screener. But sometimes things happen, and you know, we have to work through those things. So.
I don't see additional questions. I just see some thank yous, and I appreciate those thank yous.
Thank you, and we thank all of you for being here. We know that it is a tough job that you all have. We cannot wait for these students to be back in person. For those of you that are continuing on with us all year online, you know, we're continuing to work through these things, and every day we're, you know, taking another step forward and getting Edgenuity a little bit more under our belts. We think that it's a good program, but it does take some time just to learn the ins and outs. So thank you all again for being here, and have a wonderful evening.
We've got some more questions. Hold on. This meeting is being recorded. It's Facebook Live, but it's also being recorded and will be put on YouTube on the COCSD YouTube channel. Probably take us at least a day or two because the person who normally does that is out sick, but he's pretty quick getting it on there. So at least day after tomorrow it will be there. Question is, anyone from the district supporting the Community Learning Center being offered by Care Bear Child Care Facility?
You know, we actually have a teacher within the district that has reached out and built a relationship with the director there. And so that teacher has been checking in to see if there's any help needed with Zoom. And if there's additional support that's needed, we just ask that that they reach out, and it's something that we can do to get in touch and make sure that Care Bears, I know that they have been awesome in offering to allow students to work on their Chromebooks during the day. So if there's any needs there, we would be more than happy to check in with them. But we do have a teacher that is in contact already.
And then Donna Roberts is saying that she feels it's an Edgenuity problem with the negative numbers. So contact the teacher, and then the teacher can get with us, and we can figure this out. So
thank you for letting us know. We appreciate that, because communication is definitely the key. All right. Yes, I know the logging in piece, and we have another program that we use during the year, and we create little cards for our students because they have to log in, and they actually get pretty good at it after, you know, a little bit of time, even in kindergarten. But I know it's not ideal, and so it's something that we hopefully be able to work through and being able to get that automatic login for students. So, all right. Okay, well, thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.